What is going on, guys? I'm Miguel from UCGym.com, and today I'm bringing you another episode of the Muscle Anatomy series. Now we're pretty much almost done with the series. We only have like 1 or 2 more muscles to cover, and then we're done. So today I decided we're going to cover traps, since they are pretty much the largest of the last couple of episodes we're going to be doing, so might as well get it out of the way. Now, the muscle I chose is the trapezius. Now, the trapezius is not just one muscle. It is one muscle, but it has multiple parts to it, same as the pectoralis, where it has the pectoralis major, but it has 3 portions of it: the clavicular portion, the sternocostal portion, and the abdominal portion. So for the trapezius, we have 3 portions as well. Now, for the very top of the trap, from the neck down to the shoulder, we have the superior region. From the middle of the traps, we have the intermedial region, which I'm going to refer to as a medial region, just so it's simpler. And then the lower portion is the inferior region. Now, if you've ever taken any medicine classes or anything that has to do with like physiology or anatomy or anything like that, you're going to know what superior, intermedial, and inferior means. Superior meaning to the very top, and then inferior meaning towards the bottom. So to get into the origins and insertions of these muscles, the superior region, it originates on the occipital protuberance and all the way down to C7. So the occipital protuberance is a portion of the occipital bone of the skull. So it's going to be this part up here. It's the very base of your skull, or at least the occipital bone portion of it. And all the way to C7, it's the 7th vertebrae of the cervical spine. So the cervix is C1 through C7. So you have 7 bones, pretty much the ones located in your neck. So from the occipital bone, your skull, all the way down to C7. And it inserts into the clavicle and acromion process. So the clavicle, if you don't know by now, it is your collarbone, and the acromion process is just the tippy top of your scapula, or your shoulder blade. For the medial region, it originates on T1 through T5, and now the T stands for thoracic. So the thoracic portion of your spine, which is pretty much your upper back, the medial region of the traps originate on T1 through T5, so in this region. And it inserts into the scapular spine and the acromion process. So pretty much the same thing as the previous one, except it doesn't insert into the scapula or the clavicle. Now for the inferior region, the very bottom portion, it originates in T6 through T12. Again, thoracic spine, the lumbar, not the lumbar region, but the lower upper back, pretty much down here. It originates in the 6th through 12th vertebrae of the thoracic column, and it inserts into the apex of the scapular spine, so pretty much the very bottom of the scapula. And now on to the functions of each of these portions of the traps. Okay, so superior region, we have, it supports the weight of the arm and upward rotation of scapula and elevation. So the traps, since they do, the superior region, it originates up here on the occipital bone, all the way to which portion of the cervical spine, and it inserts into the clavicle and the scapula. Now, since it is going upwards down, the fibers are running vertically, slightly angled, and it's holding up the weight of your arm. Now, if you were to touch your traps right now with your arms slouched, you're going to feel tension, and that's because the traps are holding up the arms up just a little bit so they don't slouch all the way down, and you maintain some structure or proper posture in your body. Now, as for the upward rotation of the scapula, this refers to doing something like a lateral raise or a front raise with your arms, where the scapula is moving this way, back or upwards, and same way sideways, where it's going up. And elevation, your shrugging motions, when you move your shoulders up, you're elevating the scapula, and you just know it as doing a shrug, but it's called scapular elevation. Now onto the medial region, it retracts the scapula. So if you've ever seen any professional bench press tips or anything like that, where someone's explaining how to properly do a bench press, or even any other chest exercise, or maybe even a shoulder pressing exercise, they always tell you to retract your scapula. And that means just bringing your shoulder blades back and pinching them together. And one good way to think of retracting your scapula is to try to put your right scapula into your back left pocket and your left scapula into your back right pocket. So you're going to squeeze them back together and slightly downward, so you maintain proper tightness in your upper back for whichever exercise you're trying to do. So that's scapular retraction, where you bring them back and retract them towards the posterior region of your body. Then for the inferior region, we have medial rotation and depresses scapula. So medial rotation is bringing your arm downwards, or yeah, downwards from this position or this position, where instead of the scapula going this way upwards, it's going downwards. So if you were to put your arm around your back right now and feel for your shoulder blade or scapula, and you do this, you're going to see or feel your scapula going downwards. And then for the depression of the scapula, pretty much like I said with the previous one where you retract them and you go down slightly, the traps are involved in that movement. So anytime you do any lat pull down movement or a pull up or anything like that, and you're going from the top all the way down, your traps are involved just a little bit, but only the inferior region of the traps, just the lower portion. And that's pretty much it for the origins, insertions, and functions of the three regions of the trapezius muscle. And now we're just going to go on to the exercises to conclude the video. And I have three main exercises. I have shrugs, rows, and lateral raises. So one way I learned pretty well on how to, or what the traps do, is they raise your shoulders past their resting level. So if you've ever done any lateral raises with dumbbells or cables or a machine, and you go here, this is where your shoulders are going to continue working and your traps are not working. You go higher and you're raising your shoulder past its resting level, and your traps become involved because they have to raise the shoulder or arm past a certain level. So that's how I kind of learned how the traps work, but that was before I knew there were three regions and each has its own designated function. And this is kind of dictated through doing something like shrugs, where you bring your shoulders up past their resting state and you're recruiting the traps muscle and working them to their designated function. So for shrugs, you can do dumbbells, barbells, or overhead shrugs, or calf machine shrugs, or machine shrugs, or whatever there may be. So for dumbbells and barbells, the dumbbells are pretty good because you can hold them at your side and you're not limited to the range of motion at which you can hold the dumbbells, so you can target different muscle fibers depending on which way you hold the dumbbell. As for the barbell, there's really only two places you can hold it. It's in front of you or behind you. Now some people prefer doing it behind them, but that's just up to their personal preference, and I suggest you try it both ways, in front and behind, so you can do or activate more fibers in different sorts of positions. Overhead shrugs, this is an exercise I've never seen anyone do. Essentially, you're going to have a barbell and have it over your head like you just did a snatch, I think. So you're going to hold the barbell overhead and you're just going to shrug up. So this is just a different position at which you're placed in. You're putting some different amount of stress on your traps, and you're going to recruit more fibers doing it in a way that you've never tried it before, and you're just confusing the muscle and making it do something it's never done before. And then for calf machine shrugs, you can do these on a standing calf raise machine. Now you have the pads placed on your shoulders, and that's really all you need to do a trap activating movement. So generally when you're doing any of these movements, you have to incorporate your hands, your forearms, your biceps, triceps, anything to just maintain stability in holding the weight. Now if you do these calf machine shrugs where you have the pads on your shoulders, you don't need any of this at all. All the weight's on your shoulders, and you're just shrugging up and not needing any other muscles to do the work for you. You're not exerting any extra force to hold the weight up. Now you are recruiting some stability muscles to hold the weight properly and things like that, but it's nothing compared to doing it with a free weight. So doing calf machine shrugs is a very good change of pace, and you are going to recruit more fibers and feel a greater burn because you are solely focusing on the traps. And then for the next exercise, I have rows. You can do bent over rows or upright rows. So a bent over row, you should all know by now, you're just putting your body at about 45 degrees to parallel with the ground. You have a barbell or you have dumbbells, and just rowing the weight towards your stomach, ideally. So you're rowing, and what's happening to your shoulder blades when you do a row? So you're doing a row like this, you're retracting your scapula. So you're recruiting the medial region of the traps and the inferior region. So you are recruiting more fibers than you would through doing any other movement that's just solely focused on doing shrugs, where you just focus on the upper portion of the traps. So various exercises train your traps that you don't know about. So the next one I have is upright rows. Now some people do or are aware that upright rows do work the traps, but they mainly think that it works the shoulders. Specifically the medial head of the shoulders, the part on the very side. Because when you do an upright row, and you do it this way, you are raising your arm in a lateral fashion. But when you raise the weight past a certain level, you are recruiting your traps, like I said. So you bring the weight up here, and you want to go higher. Well, there you go. You're working the traps. You're going past a certain level that your shoulders are when they're resting. So, doing any movement where you require your elbows to go or your shoulders to go past their resting state, you are recruiting your traps. So, just keep that in mind, and you'll be fine. And then the last one, like I said, lateral raises. Ideally with dumbbells, maybe with cables or machine. But with dumbbells, you get more liberty as to moving the weight wherever you want to move it. It can be behind you, in front of you, exactly to your side. It can be anywhere you want, and you can recruit your traps through doing these lateral raises. Now, ideally, if you're doing lateral raises, you're targeting the shoulders and not the traps. So, ideally, you would stop at about this level. Now, if you want to work the traps and just kill two birds with one stone, then by all means, you can go all the way up and recruit your traps to a certain degree. And that's pretty much it for the video. There are 3 sections of the traps. Superior region, intermedial region, and inferior region. All of them carry a similar function, which is to move the scapula in a certain direction, but the main ones, or the main portion of the traps that everybody's aware of is just the upper portion, but in reality it's a very large muscle group. It runs from the top of your neck pretty much all the way down to your mid-lower back. And this is just one side, of course there's 2 sides, so it's kind of like a diamond-shaped muscle group. But yeah, so 3 portions. Main exercises I recommend are shrugs and upright rows. You can do either or. Ideally, you would do both. And since the traps are a very large muscle group, they deserve a lot of attention, not just doing a couple sets of shrugs and then calling it quits. You should do at least 2 or 3 exercises in order to ensure maximal activation of the traps and induce maximum growth. So that's pretty much it. Yeah. So if you haven't seen the last video, I forgot what it was, but it'll be on screen. You can click the annotation to watch it, or go down in the description and click the link to watch it there too. And yeah, so go to UCGym.com and you'll be more up to date on these kinds of things, my new videos and things like that. Subscribe to our YouTube channel to never miss a video, and I'll see you guys next time.
Knowledge.